Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Jukes. I'm from Nexus Open Systems. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I can see there is still a few of you joining as well, so we are about to dive straight into it. But I'm pleased to say that we have Ben from Anywhere 365 joining us shortly too. So Nexus and Anywhere 365 have got a long-lasting relationship, and obviously over the last 9 months or so, with the increased requirement for collaboration, it's obviously strengthened for obvious reasons. But I won't talk for too long because we've got a lot to cover with Ben, and there will be Q&A during and afterwards. But now I'll pass you straight over to Ben, and look forward to seeing what he's got to say.
Hi all, thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Ben Weerasekera. I'm a channel account manager over here at Workstream People. Now, over the time that I have been supporting Nexus, we've seen a real shift, as I'm sure many of you have, within the market towards the enablement of voice within Microsoft Teams. And in turn, there's been an increasing demand for improved management of incoming and outgoing communication, reporting and capabilities for employees, not just in the contact center, but outside of the contact center also. So we wanted to provide you with a concise overview to highlight how the Anywhere 365 platform can elevate your team's environment, significantly improving productivity and service. So for those of you guys that haven't come across us before, Anywhere 365 is a dialogue management and contact center solution entirely focused around the Microsoft stack. So we help customers to achieve a return on investment by leveraging their existing 365 licensing. We've been around for about 12 years now, supporting organizations with these type of requirements. We started off with what was Link once upon a time, through to Skype, and nearly every conversation that we have now is related to Microsoft Teams. There is a global product footprint, so we have use in, there is more than 52 countries now. I know that a few more countries have been added to the list, but the platform operates with sheer redundancy and a full follow-the-sun support service. And the product is being used currently by over 1,000 different companies spread across all vertical markets. Now, we've got a slightly different belief, and that belief is that everyone in a business could make use of contact center features. I think traditionally, if we look back, that was the preserve of customer services or customer experience teams, mainly because it would be expensive to license product for everyone. Our approach is slightly different, so we can enable all parts of an organization to benefit from the contact center features. I think especially if we look at the last 6, 7, 8 months, however long now we've been in and out of lockdown, having our team working from remote distributed environments, if we can have the visibility, statistics, end-to-end recordings, and overall a better understanding of the organization's activity and not just the contact center, it can greatly help to maximize productivity across the business. And we're using the tools that are readily available within the Anywhere 365 platform. Now you can see contact center is certainly the obvious part of what we do, but within the Microsoft stack, there is no reception console. That's something that we can provide. We also acquired Peter Connects a few months ago. They're one of the market leaders for attendant console. So we've got some really exciting receptionist feature developments taking place behind the scenes. So the majority of what we do is within the enterprise routing, eliminating unnecessary dialogues by getting calls to the right agents with the right skills in the most efficient way. At the same time, if we can provide historic and live information to agents, we can help them to become more productive, but importantly, provide a better level of service. We like to complement all of that with self-serve capabilities, which can be a further driver for cost efficiencies. And we'll have a little look at how that works within the demonstration and the capability for other tools in the Microsoft ecosystem, such as Power Apps. Now you can see on this slide, just a few customers that are using the solution globally. Now, some of these customers will be using us for reception, others may be contact center, some for website interaction, maybe a bit of a mix across the board. We can drill down to see a few more of our local UK customers, but just before we do, it's worth mentioning that we were highlighted by Gartner in the How to Optimize Teams with Contact Center release in July, and we were also mentioned by Gartner again recently in the Magic Quadrant released. There is a number of FTSE 500 companies using the platform, but ultimately what pulls all of these customers together is that they'll all be using Microsoft as their telephony platform, whether that be Skype or teams. Okay, so let's have a look at some product-orientated info now. So the solution itself, I like to break it down into 3 core components. So in a Teams world, the application itself would be consumed from our Dialog Cloud on a subscription basis. The second part is the administration and configuration. So we provide to you a template that goes into your SharePoint environment, and it's your own instance to manage the communication flow. And then the final part is the database. So that's your instance of a SQL environment that can be stored locally or in Azure. And that's where all the management information and CDR records will be held. So you ultimately have full control over your data and permissions. You can see also, on the left-hand side here, different contact methods for customers into the organization. So in a B2B world, predominantly still email and voice, but for service provision, we find that customers prefer to use channels that they do in their personal life. So SMS, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. What we can do is pull those different media streams into our communication flow management tool, which is your SharePoint environment, and then decide how we want to go about administering the call flow. Importantly, we can apply machine learning, product-based routing, skills-based routing. CRM is something that we're doing a lot of at the moment. So we could recognize a number, we could apply some rules to change the call flow. At the same time, we could surface the records of the caller to the agent. And I think for me, what I really liked about this platform is that you have the ability to overlay other specialist services into the contact center. So things like bots, cognitive services, sentiment analysis, even in-flight translation. As an ISV, we don't spend as much resource on these type of services as the likes of Microsoft and Google would. So being able to apply these additional features as and when you need can be an extremely valuable feature for our customers. And we can also work with Power Apps to streamline the automation of changes in the contact center, such as changes to the IVR or agents. Power Automate, also you may have come across, is a great tool that can be used to highlight information such as a bad quality monitoring score, and that could also then be escalated to a supervisor. At the same time, there could be an outbound call that registered to follow up by the supervisor on this. So, as I say, we're using tools in and around the Microsoft ecosystem to improve the service and efficiency of our team members. And we can even take it one step further by empowering our contact center managers to build what we like to call the ultimate voice bot dialogue all by themselves by simply dragging and dropping nodes to a canvas within our dialogue studio. And finally, you can see on the right-hand side that we use Power BI to show detailed reports and recordings. Last slide now is just to point out, in terms of an agent's view, at its most basic level, all we need is a Teams client to route a call. We can provide an application called Web Agent, and Web Agent is used to manage all channels of communication, to see historic interactions, cases, and to classify conversations. But we're doing more at the moment, as I mentioned, with CRM integrations. You can see Dynamics, SAP, Salesforce, ServiceNow. That list isn't exhaustive, but what we've done is we've built our Web Agent into those CRM interfaces, and that means the agents will just have one single pane of glass, and that goes for the reception tool also. We can have agents available on PSTN or mobile if required. And finally, we've got an application called Bridge that can be critical for remote workers. It shows tickets, previous interactions from their CRM whilst out and about. But importantly, it has the ability to record a conversation and post a transcription back into CRM, helping to save time and ensure compliance. So that's it for slideware. I'm now going to show you the product. Let's start with the template that we provide to you in SharePoint. This SharePoint page that you can see is based on my UCC, and UCC stands for Unified Contact Center. So depending on the licensing that you choose, you'll either have a limited or unlimited number of UCCs. Things that you do at UCC level could be different opening times, different languages, brands, or agents with different reason codes. It really depends on how the operation currently works within the organization and how you see that working moving forward. It can be sliced in different ways. It really depends on the requirement. But you can see within this section, there are a number of agents, just small contact center, 10 agents I've got configured in here, 3 supervisors. We could have trainers and trainees if we wanted to. I've only got one skill assigned for demonstration purposes within this, but we can see how many skills we have assigned to our agents. We've also got an outbound dialer, and an outbound dialer can be a really useful part of the platform if you want to manage campaigns, whether that's from a SQL backend or from CRM. We could manage our callback from out of hours missed calls. And we can also do customer callbacks that have been requested from CRM. Essentially, it's a listed SharePoint that would need the number that you want to call and the skill of the agent. We've got our some operational information here, business hours, upcoming holiday. So we can see if there's recordings in the platform, any missed calls and voicemails also. You have got underneath this, you can see on the lower half of the screen, this is where all of our configuration sits. We won't go through all of this, but just to give you an idea of how simple the configuration is, we can go into our agent section. You can see here, if you want to configure your agent, you just need a SIP address or a tel URI. If we open that up, when we input this information, we've got the option in here to choose in which order we're going to route. Are they a formal, informal agent to log in and log out of the contact center, their SIP address, and then we can define if there's a Teams UPN, we can put that in there also. The alternative caller ID can be a really useful part also, so that when a call is made outbound from the agent, if the customer misses the call and calls back, they'll see the correct number that we want them to call back, opposed to the DDI or SIP address of the agent. I'll also show you how you assign a skill to an agent. Again, very simple within SharePoint. I think one of the nice things about SharePoint is that from a deployment perspective, also from a security perspective, it makes life much easier because you already have all your predefined roles and responsibilities. So we can see within our skills per agent, it's a very simple method in here. We just add a new item. You can see what I've done already, which is to add the sales skill to my SIP address, my demo SIP address, and I've assigned a skill score of 100. And the reason that I've got 100 in here is because if I want to add an additional layer to routing, then this is going to prioritize the calls coming to me as an agent. But I could also, if at times the help desk gets very busy, I could also assign a skill of help desk. Maybe I'll put 50% in there so that when the calls need to be overflowed to other agents that are not necessarily defined within that team but may want to help out, we can do that also. So the options are, as you can see, granular to ensure that we've got the right people at the right place to handle the calls when we need them to. One last note within the SharePoint page that I want to show to you guys is the option in here to make some enhancements within the way that we're going to show our presence. So we can add a reason code in here as to why we might be going away from our desk. It's great to see, you know, if someone's away, if someone's busy or someone's in a call, that's helpful, but we can really start to take the next step in terms of information we provide to our supervisors to say that I'm going on a lunch break, a tea break, a toilet break. And I'll show you shortly from an agent side what that would look like. And in addition to that, we have the option to classify conversations, which I'm sure you can appreciate is a really useful part of understanding topics of conversation within the business. So 3 obvious options in here that I've configured, you can see, and we'll again shortly see where that ends up when our agents are managing those conversations. The alternative to our SharePoint is using, I mentioned earlier, a Power App. I think the great thing about a Power App is that you really don't need to be a developer or highly experienced to be able to set this up. I'm a good example of that. It took me just over an hour to configure this. You can see it's linked to my contact center. If I wanted to, I could provide this to someone in the business to say, right, if you just need to add some agents or remove agents, use this Power App. You can see I can add new agents in here. If I wanted to log agents in and out of the queue, again, I can find the agent, log them in and out where necessary. It's used a lot for business continuity. If there's an issue, we need to make a quick change to an IVR, we can jump in here, we can choose the option, we can make the change, and it happens instantly. As I mentioned earlier, at its most basic level, we just need a Teams client to be able to route a call to an agent. However, what we tend to find is that for agents and supervisors, they like to have a little bit more information, visibility, and control to hand. And we provide that using this application that's called a snapper. It's called a snapper because it snaps to the right hand side of the screen. You can flip it around if you wanted to. You can see at the top it's configured to my contact center. We've got a dial pad if we want to make outgoing calls that will take into consideration any alternative caller IDs. Some statistics at the top for the contact center, accepted calls, missed calls. If I was an agent and I just want to see my personal statistics, I can toggle that and that's what it's going to show. We can see our presence of agents, which in the next section will become more detailed. And if our agents are using their reason codes, then we'd see within this section how many of our agents are on lunch, how many may be on a tea break, how many are available, in call, etc. The next section is for conversations, and this is where the additional features that Anywhere 365 platform can provide really takes ownership of the call journey. If we see from the left-hand side, when a call comes in, if we sat in the IVR, we'll see that call, we'll see the number, we'll see the details of that caller. We can see any calls that may be waiting. And what's really helpful is that in this section, if a call is waiting and we decided, actually, I'd like to have a notification to let me know when a call is waiting to be picked up. So send me over an IM, send me over an email to let me know that's the case. I could go in and I could accept that call directly from this application. And in addition to that, I think for teams, it's great for collaboration. And for me, as an example, if I was a new starter in a business, I could drop an IM to my supervisor and say, I'm on a call, I need a bit of help, could you jump in? The supervisor could find the call within this list, see my SIP address, and they'll have the option in here to listen in. They could whisper to me if they wanted to, or if needs be, they could join the call and turn that into a three-way call. And finally, we'll see any calls that are within the quality monitor section as well. The next one is a snapshot at some high-level statistics within the contact center for our skills, active time, and SLAs. And then we have our history of calls, all calls in, incoming, outgoing, missed calls, so we can see exactly what's happened. I want to now show you from an agent's perspective what the application that we use, I mentioned it, is called Web Agent. And you can see here, Web Agent that is provided within a few different areas of the platform. So this is obviously my Teams client. You can see the application just sits on the left-hand side within this tray. We could also provide the Web Agent within a standalone web link. So again, just on that link, we would log in and authenticate our 365 address and have access to the application. The third and final option would be within a CRM, and this is Dynamics demo setup. So on the right hand side, you can see the application itself. It's sat there exactly the same as we would provide in standalone or Teams, but just in a smaller tray that you could get rid of if you don't need to. But if you wanted to make it bigger, you can do that. Also, great thing about having this integrated within CRM is you can decide when a call comes in, do you want to open up the details page? Do you want to open up the activity page of that caller if they're in the database? If they're not, maybe we should create a new contact, lead, opportunity. These type of actions that what specifically the agent is going to need to do and help them to save time and importantly focus on the conversation that they're having with the customer. Okay, so let's move over to Microsoft Teams. We've got a little bit more screen estate here, so I'll use this to show you how the Web Agent works. As I say, we've got our different options on the left. Web Agent is sat here. So within the Web Agent, I've got my details. I can drop that down, have a look and see which contact centers I may be a part of. If I need to, I can log in and log out. If, again, I have the permissions preset to do that. We can go back and have a look at any reason codes that may be optional within my contact center, and I can decide if I'm going away from my desk to set those within this application. We have the option for calendar integration. And then on the right-hand side, we've got different options in terms of our contacts. So we could have a look at contacts if we want to make transfers, create new groups for those contacts. Great for attendant capabilities. And then our call queue, we could see conversations, in this case, there's some WhatsApp and email conversations that are sat in the queue. Any calls that are coming in, we're going to see in a moment what that looks like. We could see call history, and if we wanted to search for some text in a conversation with a customer, they may say, I want to talk about a discussion that I had regarding Ben. We could search for Ben and find any conversations that are inclusive of that specific word. So let's put a call in now. I'm going to enable Dialog Studio, which is the low-code, no-code environment for team members to be able to create their own IVR flow. So I've created one myself, and let's have a conversation with it.
Hello, Mr. Weerasekera. How can we help you today?
Do you have any parking on site?
We have parking facilities on site and open from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Parking is chargeable. Anything else we can help you with?
Do you have any discounts available?
Yes, we have discounts and free trials available. Anything else we can help you with?
That's great. I'd like to buy your product.
It looks like you need to speak with an agent. I'll find someone for you now.
1 moment, please. Your call will be answered by the next available representative. Please stay on the line. You will be connected as soon.
Okay, great. So that call has been routed to me as the available agent within this contact center. What has happened, and you would have seen this before I answered the call, but we have the details of the caller surfaced to the agent. So I could see before I answer the call, who's calling, what are their personal information. Do I want to open that within a CRM if that's possible? Can I see any cases, previous classifications, timeline information to do with any previous interactions? Where have they been within the call journey? We've got some remote call control functions also at the top, you can see here. So if I wanted to, I can, without having to jump back into the Teams window, I can manage that conversation simply and easily from this application. Could put the call on hold. We could invite someone to the conversation. I could search and auto-populate anyone in my domain. Make that transfer, as I say, or if we needed to, we could end that conversation. But within the contact section, to make it even easier for receptionists, to give you an idea, we want to find someone. Now, this would auto-populate, as I say, but just because of my demo environment, currently I don't have anyone to transfer that to. So I'm just going to put a number, exactly the same format. We could find them. We could see their presence in the same way you can see I'm busy at the top here. It would show whether this individual would be available. We could drag, we could drop them as a consultative or as a blind transfer. If I now end this call, we can see there's some wrap-up time that's configured. That is now finished. We have the option to classify this conversation, which, as we looked at earlier, should give us those options, whether that was a complaint, an existing or a new lead. Let's say that was an existing customer. We'll save that, and that's going to filter into our reports. I'll also now put into the call queue, I'll put a WhatsApp message in because it will be slightly different in terms of the way that it's going to look, given that it's a different type of communication. However, what we should see is that this engine, we have it's called a chat hub. So when that message comes in, there we go, we can see a WhatsApp message for myself. It's routed to me automatically because it's seeing that I'm available. It's asking me if I want to accept this. In this case, I could say, yeah, sure, let's accept. And when I accept that, we are now opening conversation. And at the same time, it's done what we saw a moment ago in terms of opening up those records because it finds that within the database. It's also, as you notice, got some previous text in there, as again, it's from the same mobile number. So it's recognized the previous conversation, and we could have a look at that within the thread if we really wanted to. Again, when we're finished, we can classify that, or if we don't want to, we've got the option to get rid of that without a classification. So whether it's a web chat, whether it's an email, whether it's a WhatsApp or an SMS, it's all going to show in the same format as you can see with that WhatsApp message. So now let's move on to the final section of the webinar, which is to look at the Wallboard and reporting capabilities. You can see here I've got a pre-installed application, this Wallboard, which can also be accessed via a web link. The Wallboard comes as standard out of the box with the product. We've got at the top, as as you can see, some different skills configured, the number of accepted calls, missed calls, and average queue times, again, just showing a slightly different format. We'd see any calls within this section as well. So a call, if that comes into the contact center, if I make a call now, what we should see is that my mobile number is going to show in that section, and that's the same for any dialogue. So at a snapshot, at any given time, we could open this up and have a look at what is happening within our contact center. The availability of our agents, if we wanted to toggle between different views, we could see that in again, just a slightly different layout. Just depends on the type of information that you want to see. This, I imagine, would be the type of thing that we'd have on the wall in the office if that's where we're still situated. There is a different type of wallboard that we can also provide just through a web link. So if I move over to this one here, again, just a web link, we could see some information to do with the contact center agents. If we have those configured, we'd see them. We'd see our skills and how it's performing towards those SLAs again. So slightly different look and feel, but really just depends on which you prefer. A good thing about having these as web extensions is that they can just sit within Teams as their own individual team, and all your information for the contact center sat in that one place. In addition to the wallboards, we're going to look at the reporting capabilities. Reporting is done through Power BI. What we do with Power BI is very similar to the SharePoint aspect. We provide you a template to ensure that you have access to all the information that you need within the contact center from day one. This template, we can see there's a list of different reports. But before we go into the reports, just to mention, if you haven't come across Power BI before, Power BI is a really great tool to add different data sources. So you could add information from your CRM and really drill down specifically into the type of detail that you want to gather. So on the right hand side, depending on what we want to find, we could specify that here. We could, and I'm going to open this up just to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. List of reports, you can choose again within a slightly different section. When are we going to look for this info? We go into the first report, so we could have a look in our contact center. This is a shared license, so the numbers would be a little bit different to my own contact center. But you could see this is an indication of how many calls are coming in, how many have been missed, quick drop, initial talk time, average queue time. We could drill down into the contact center that we're looking for specifically. Or even better, we could go into our per hour report for a defined contact center. So we could have a look and see where are our busy periods. In this case, certainly the afternoon is the busiest. On this heat map, it would tell us which hour. In this case, 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock tend to be the busy hours. If we need to, we can drill down into a 15-minute interval and see, okay, at 3 o'clock, at 3:15, we had 18 calls. None of those 18 calls were accepted. 14 were missed, and 3 of those were forwarded. Why was that? So we can have a look and get that kind of detail if we need to. Our contact report can be really helpful to look at things from the other side of the fence. When callers are coming into the contact center, how many callers are we actually getting in? How many of those may be frequent callers? What is our average quality monitor score? Our skill report is a really good insight into how many conversations are coming into different teams, the different skills that we configured, but also how many times are we actually getting the conversation right the first time round. And this I often link to our transferee report, because within our transferee report we can go that extra step further and identify who within the business is making the majority of transfers. Now that clearly would be a receptionist if we have that function, but if we don't, it may be a case that one of our agents that is transferring a lot of their calls, they maybe need some more training, or maybe we need to update the configuration within our SharePoint template. Our agent report is an extremely, I think, valuable tool for a lot of organizations that are using the product currently to get an idea of how many of their agents are actually performing to the level that they expect now they're working from home. So we could see within the same time period, very different numbers from our team members. So if we needed to, we could choose a specific individual and we could drill down into their own statistics and understand how are they performing And importantly, how responsive are they based on our call answering SLAs and hunt to accept rates that we can see here. Now, a report that is quite closely linked to the agent report is our status overview. Now, this report will give us information on how have our agents' status looked over that specific time period. So if we have some agents that are not quite achieving the same numbers as colleagues, down and see whether the status of said agent shows that they have actually spent 34% of their day away from their desk. And if we needed to have a reason code within, as you saw earlier, lunch, toilet or tea break, it would determine how much of the day have they spent maybe on lunch or making teas, and is that a reason as to why they've not hit the same number of calls as other team members. The next report is our dialogue overview, and the dialogue overview is a really useful section to have a look at everything that's been happening within the contact center. So we can see all dialogues, we can determine inbound or outbound, we could see which contact centers, but importantly, we've got a correlation ID, so we can reference the dialogue and use that if we need to for training or monitoring purposes, and if needs be, open up a dialogue to see exactly what's happened within the journey of the call. So we can see from the point in which the call reaches the contact center, it was an incoming call, the state's changed, there's no one in the queue, and this has been routed to an agent who has accepted and classified that call. Customers hung up, and that's the end of that dialogue. We could see on the right hand side, this is a summary of that conversation. So we can see the talk time, we could see if a call was recorded, that would have a link in there to the Sharepoint site that that's situated within, and the recordings themselves are stored at 256-bit AES encryption. And given that they're in your Sharepoint environment, you have your own retention rules set for those recordings. So finally, I'll move on to our classification overview. And the classification overview we touched on earlier within the web agent is where the agents themselves can define what topic of conversation that they had with the customer. Firstly, we'll see whether the agents are actually classifying calls. We've got in here information as to what are the different topics. And if we wanted to, we could find a specific topic. Let's use invoices as an example and see where they've been classified from, which contact centers. We could find which individuals, but we could also see over a time period as to where are our busy period for invoicing. And with that information, do we need to do anything differently to our agent administration? So that concludes our webinar. I hope you found it useful. I have run over a couple of minutes, so apologies for that. If we've got some time, I'll pass over to you, Alex, to address any questions that we may have.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. That's really interesting stuff. It's always really impressive seeing how Power BI renders all of that data and the reporting. It's really compelling, and thinking about senior leaders and actually relaying that info to them, I think it's the perfect tool. I think we do have a few questions as well, if you wouldn't mind answering them, Ben, that have come in. Bear with me. So one of the first ones was actually just how does your licensing model work? So that's always quite key in these sort of technologies.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Yeah, thank you, Alex. So I think to keep it concise, we've got two options. For smaller size requirements, we can license on a per user basis. For medium to larger size deployments, we use what we call a platform as a service model. And what that means is that we can provide unlimited user licenses at no cost. And what that does, I think it ties in really to the mention at the start of a scalable model to support with the insights into the activity of the wider organization.
Fine. No, okay, that's interesting. I think that aligns to that question. Obviously, if you've got any more questions around licensings or feature sets within the licenses, do feel free to ask again. And there was another one, Ben, just in regards to references as well. So obviously, I think you shared a few of these towards the start, but specifically around public sector references, in regards to Anywhere 365, have they done much work in the public sector? I know we've certainly done work with you in the public sector, but as a whole, have you got many public sector references?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've deployed the Anywhere 365 platform into a large number of public sector organisations recently. As you say, Alex, we've done some together through Nexus, and we're certainly engaged in a large number of conversations in the public sector. And we've got, as I say, case studies to hand that we could provide if that's useful. I think the best thing to do would be to drop Alex a message, and we can engage individually and get those sent over.
Yeah, and that's certainly fine. So please do if you want any further details on that. And I know we have ran over a little bit, so maybe just one more. I know this can probably be a bit of a vague question, perhaps, Ben, and one that you might not be able to answer, so it'll be interesting to hear it. So how quickly can you deploy Anywhere 365? And I think everyone always wants a silver bullet answer with that. But in your experience,
yeah, it'd be nice if there was, a fixed time frame. I think it really depends. The good thing with this is that we've got an application hosted in Azure. We can stand it up extremely fast for customers if required. But at the moment, I know that there is quite a significant backlog. So I think we're working towards a few weeks from the point of order. But that's always subject to change, and we generally work with customers depending on what sort of timeframes they're also working towards on their side.
Fine, and I think you mentioned throughout as well. So those reporting tools that you shared, they're all kind of included within out of the box, really. So that's not sort of work that a customer would have to be doing themselves.
Correct, exactly right. Yeah, we provide that template to the customer to get them going from day one.
Fine, that's really good. Well, hopefully that answers that question. And obviously we have run over a bit, so apologies for that. We'll be sending out a recording of this, so if anyone has missed it or dropped anything off or want us to share it with the rest of their organisation, we will send those out afterwards. And obviously if there is any follow-up questions, please feel free to respond to that or reach out to us directly. But as always, pleasure hosting everyone. Thank you, Ben, for your time, and we look forward to doing this again in the near future.